Hi, thanks for coming and checking out this video. I'm going to be talking about Arteta's new Arsenal, changing culture, and some of the things that I've seen, taking a psychology perspective to explain the changing fortunes that we've seen so far this season. So let's get into it. So we've seen Arsenal have a huge change in their fortunes since the Manchester City game. We went the first three games without scoring a goal, losing every game, -9 goal difference. And in the 10 games we've played since, 10 games in all competitions, we have seen a huge turnaround in form, and a huge turnaround in belief and confidence in sort of playing style and everything. A lot's been made about a new culture that Arteta is developing at Arsenal. And I personally think it's very evident to see what is the key to it. You know, that's the big question people are asking. What is it? What has happened at Arsenal that is leading to this change in fortune? Personally, I think it has been the recruitment. The recruitment, I think, has been key to this whole change in atmosphere at the club, where players look passionate, players look motivated, players look like they are ready to go all out and that they believe fully. So I'm going to use a theory of psychology known as self-determination theory to point out a few areas in which I think Arsenal have improved that is leading to this change in motivation, where players look like they are just ready to run through walls for each other. So self-determination theory is a theory of motivation that is based on three main kind of concepts. The first one is autonomy, which is the freedom to be able to kind of make your own decisions, and that kind of thing. The second is competence, which is an ability to successfully perform a task. And then the last one is relatedness, and that is the feelings of belonging or being cared for. I'll break them down one by one. I'll talk about the Arteta / Arsenal aspect of it, and hopefully by the end you'll be able to see how self-determination theory has factored into a changing culture at Arsenal. Autonomy is one's feeling of being in control, one's feeling of being able to make their own decisions or be involved in decisions that will impact their lives, their outcomes, their futures, etc. So recently, Gabriel said, and I quote, "Without doubt, I am learning a lot from him," talking about Arteta. "He helps us a lot on the pitch in terms of deciding how we are set up and the systems we use. He guides us forward, but he also asks us questions about what we think might be best for the team." A lot of people will see this as being an experience. Arteta not sure how to, explain something or come up with something or, get his message across. And so he's now asking for the players for guidance and for help. That's not the case. He is giving the players a sense of autonomy. Autonomy is extremely important in motivation because it connects directly to buy-in. If I have a philosophy and I try to impart my philosophy on you, because it's not your philosophy, you're not as committed to it. If I have a philosophy and I ask you for some input, or I ask your advice on something where you're then able to have a say in said philosophy, you then take it as shared ownership and it now becomes your philosophy. Now you'll be committed to the cause. This is what we talk about when we say buy in. By Arteta giving the players that little bit of autonomy, that little bit of decision making, the ability to kind of have a say and an input into this new philosophy that's happening at Arsenal is only going to help those players buy in more. When they buy in, they're going to be more prepared to go into tackles, more prepared to go into the blocks, work harder for each other. You can see it in the body language when a player gets tackled late. Players are running in and they're grabbing people and pushing people out the way. And Gabriel's a huge example of this in how he gets in people's faces when someone knocks over or goes in late on Ramsdale. He's in their face. When somebody, puts a poor tackle in on Saka, for example, Crystal Palace against Saka, Gabriel's in someone's face. And so autonomy has been a huge element in improving the motivation and buying of the squad. Another example of this sense of autonomy that has been given to the players by Arteta is found in the recent stories of players being allowed to be involved in post-game talks or halftime team talks. There's stories recently about Ramsdale being able to address the team after conceding a late goal against Villa. These things help to build that sense of ownership, to build that sense of importance in terms of your input and your part in the overall scheme. The second area is competence. Competence is an ability to perform a task. What we've seen through the recruitment is players who can come in, who can improve the level of technical proficiency within the group. You look at just a few of the players. On a technical point of view, we're looking at Tomiyasu, who can play both feet, who can play long pass, short passes, who receives well, who can head the ball. As a technician, it's very solid. You look at Tavares, who came in, who can play with both feet, who has a pretty good first touch, who has a good delivery. You look at players like Sambi, who are very tidy with the ball, technically very efficient. But then on the technical side of things, there's also a tactical element to competence. And that is, again, the likes of Tomiyasu, who can play anywhere across the back line. Tavares, who can play right, left, who could probably play right, left back, but then also right, left wing. You've got White, who can play as a centre back, but then who can also step into midfield and play as a centre midfield player. We've got players who are able to play in multiple positions, who understand the game tactically and who are fluid enough to move between positions. Sambi, for example, can play on the right or on the left of midfield, but then can also play as a 6 or as an 8. Smith Rowe, who wasn't recruited, but who was brought into the team and who's been kept in the team, is able to play anywhere in the 3 positions behind the centre forward. Saka can do the same. We're seeing from Lacazette that Lacazette can play as the centre forward, number 9, if need to be, and be a hold-up man, but can also drop in to the 10 role and link play. So the competence of the team has increased dramatically, both technically and tactically, based on a number of the players that have been recruited. You want to talk competence? There's no better example in the increase in competence than Aaron Ramsdale. Somebody who can play out from the back, somebody who can control their box, somebody who can be big 1v1, someone who can be a good shot stopper, someone who can come and claim crosses. Someone who communicates across their back line, someone who understands tactically and can break lines when it's necessary, but then play short when it's necessary. These are all huge examples of an increased competence. And with competence, with being able to perform a task successfully, you increase confidence. If you can continue to increase confidence, you're going to end up with an increase in motivation. And so players coming out looking like they are ready to go, ready to play, taking the game to their opponent early, especially which we've seen in the last few games, is a mark of a confident side. And that confidence has been built by an improved competence, both technically and tactically. The last of the three factors that fit into self-determination theory is relatedness. Relatedness is a sense of belonging, a sense of being cared for, kind of like a brotherhood or a camaraderie, or strong friendships. And again, we've seen this especially with the back line, where after games they're hugging each other, they're high-fiving each other in game. Players look like they like being around each other, like they've developed brotherhood. And that's not just the back line. Everybody across the squad's like that. We've seen Lacazette with Aubameyang and how they bring in the likes of Pepe, and they bring in the likes of Saka into their kind of, their hijinks and their fun. We've seen the likes of how Ramsdale embraced both Saka and Smith Rowe during the England game in midweek. So it's another huge part of making people believe and feel like they're part of something that is helping to improve that motivation. Now, what does relatedness have to do with the recruitment, which is a large driving force behind the change of culture? Well, you look at the players that have been recruited. They are all of a very similar age, which means they can relate to each other, which they're probably in a very similar stage of life, which helps with their relatability. They are all English speakers, so communication is good. They're able to kind of, talk and sort of, develop relationships, build bonds, etc. They are all experienced. They're all going out on, into the international game at the same time. And the number of similarities continues. And what you end up with is a group of people who identify with each other and understand where each other are kind of coming from, understand the goals of each other, understand the difficulties that each other face. And through that level of understanding, because of the similar age group, they are able to come together, help each other, form tight bonds, and become a close-knit group. And that's 100% down to the recruitment. I can't speak highly enough for the recruitment plan that Arsenal put in place, the use of psychology, especially the self-determination theory. It has been masterful. And I truly do believe it's a new Arsenal we're seeing. I do believe that Arteta has had a bit of a masterstroke. Not only has he managed to get the team relatedness close together, not only has he been able to build team relatedness, but he's also been able to build the players' relatedness to the club by having more history from Arsenal on the walls, having Arsene Wenger's picture up as they enter into the training complex, where they give a high five to Wenger as they walk through the door, to having a message from Arsene Wenger, who is, interwoven into the DNA of this club, to have, more of the kind of history of the accolades and what we've won, and that kind of thing, to give you a sense of grandeur about the club that you're playing for, is again another example of how Arteta is using self-determination theory and relatedness to change the culture of the club. Thanks for watching this video. Hopefully you can see just how calculated and detailed Arteta has been in his attempts to develop a new culture at the club. If you've enjoyed, please click that thumbs up. And if you haven't yet subscribed, please do. Also share the video and keep coming back. Keep checking the videos that are coming, because there's going to be a lot more coming from me. Thanks for listening. And as always, come on, you Gunners.